The night was calm at the Atacama Observatory, nestled high in the Chilean desert. Dr. Hyun Park sat alone, her eyes fixed on multiple computer screens displaying complex data streams. She had been tracking an unusual signal for weeks, a pattern that seemed too perfect to be random noise. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, running multiple algorithms to verify the signal's origin. The mathematical sequence was unlike anything she had ever seen before. Each transmission carried a precision that suggested intelligent design, not natural cosmic radiation. Outside the control room, the desert winds whispered across empty landscapes. Inside, Hyun's heart raced with anticipation. She knew this could be the moment scientists had dreamed about for generations, proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. Her phone buzzed. It was Seok Kim, the NASA research director. "Talk to me." "Hyun, what have you found?" "Something extraordinary," she replied, her voice steady but excited. "The signal contains complex mathematical structures that cannot be explained by natural phenomena." Within hours, the global scientific community was alerted. Research centers from Tokyo to Washington began analyzing the data. Satellite networks redirected their sensors, trying to capture and understand the mysterious transmission. Captain Jiwon Lee from International Space Command arrived at the observatory, bringing a team of experts. They set up additional monitoring equipment, creating a comprehensive tracking system. The signal seemed to be coming from a region deep in the Orion Nebula, billions of light-years away from Earth. As news spread, governments worldwide began preparing protocols for potential first contact. Military leaders discussed potential scenarios, ranging from peaceful communication to defensive strategies. Media outlets ran continuous coverage, speculating about the signal's origin. Hyun worked tirelessly, decoding fragments of the transmission. Each new breakthrough revealed more complexity. The signal wasn't just random data. It appeared to be a form of communication, structured with an intelligence that suggested a highly advanced civilization. International teams of mathematicians, linguists, and astronomers collaborated in real time. They created complex translation algorithms attempting to understand the signal's potential meaning. Universities set up emergency research groups, analyzing every tiny detail. Days turned into weeks. The signal remained consistent, pulsing with a rhythmic precision that defied natural explanation. Scientists began to realize this was not a simple astronomical event, but something far more significant. During a global press conference, Hyun presented their findings. "We are dealing with a communication method far beyond our current understanding," she explained. "This is not just a signal, this is a message." The world watched and waited. Conspiracy theories emerged alongside serious scientific discussions. Some believed it was a breakthrough in human knowledge, while others feared potential threats from unknown entities. Military satellites monitored space for any additional signs. Space agencies from multiple countries coordinated their efforts, pooling resources and expertise. The signal represented more than a scientific discovery. It was a potential turning point in human history. Hyun continued her research, surviving on coffee and determination. She knew that this moment could change everything humans understood about their place in the universe. The signal represented hope, mystery, and the possibility of something greater than humanity's limited perspective. As technology and human understanding evolved to track and potentially communicate with the source, one thing became clear. The universe was far more complex and mysterious than anyone had imagined. The signal from the Orion Nebula was an invitation, a cosmic hello that would challenge everything humans knew about existence, intelligence, and their role in the vast, unexplored cosmos. The discovery was just the beginning. Humanity stood on the precipice of a new era, ready to reach out and potentially connect with an intelligence beyond their wildest dreams. Hyun smiled, knowing that this moment would be remembered forever, the day humanity discovered it was not alone in the universe. The sky above the Pacific Ocean changed color without warning. A soft blue transformed into a shimmering silver, unlike anything meteorologists had ever recorded. Researchers watching satellite feeds noticed an anomaly, a distortion in space that seemed to fold and unfold like liquid metal. Minji Choi, a young aerospace engineer, was the first to track the unusual phenomenon. His computer screens flickered, with complex data streams showing something was approaching Earth. Not falling, not flying, but simply transitioning through space. The vessel appeared suddenly. It wasn't massive or threatening, but elegantly designed, smooth and compact, resembling a polished droplet of mercury suspended in the atmosphere. No sharp edges, no aggressive configurations. It moved with a grace that suggested intelligence, rather than mechanical propulsion. Global defense systems activated immediately. Military bases across continents went into high alert. Fighter jets scrambled, ready to intercept what could potentially be a hostile entity. But the vessel made no aggressive movements. It simply hovered, maintaining a perfect distance from Earth's surface. Yoongi Kwon, the diplomatic representative chosen for potential first contact, prepared himself. Years of linguistic training, psychological conditioning, and intercultural communication expertise had prepared him for this moment. His hands were steady, his breath controlled. The first transmission came not as sound but as a complex mathematical sequence displayed simultaneously on screens worldwide. Translation teams worked frantically, decoding the message. It wasn't a threat, it was an introduction. "We are the Celestial Research Collective," the message read. "We come to observe and understand. No demands, no threats, just a simple statement of purpose." Military commanders remained skeptical. Political leaders held emergency meetings. Scientific communities buzzed with excitement and fear. The world watched, collectively holding its breath. The vessel began, transmitting additional information, technical schematics, scientific principles, and cultural references that demonstrated an incredibly advanced understanding of communication. They weren't just showing technology, they were showing respect. Yoonji Shin, a linguist specializing in extraterrestrial communication, worked tirelessly to interpret the transmissions. She realized something profound. These beings were not conquerors. They were researchers, explorers, driven by curiosity. News networks broadcast the event continuously. People around the world watched live feeds, witnessing a moment that would forever change human history. Streets emptied, workplaces stopped. Everyone was focused on this single, extraordinary event. The Celestial Research Collective's vessel remained stationary, sending periodic transmissions. Each message revealed more about their nature, a civilization that valued knowledge, understanding, and peaceful exploration. Diplomatic protocols were quickly established. International teams prepared communication strategies. The United Nations assembled a special committee to manage potential interactions. Minjae noticed something unusual in the data. The vessel wasn't just communicating, it was adapting its communication method in real time, learning from human responses. This suggested an intelligence far beyond simple technological advancement. Hours turned into days. The vessel remained, patient and non-threatening. Scientific instruments recorded everything: energy signatures, communication patterns, subtle technological nuances that hinted at capabilities far beyond human understanding. World leaders prepared their first official response, not with weapons or defensive postures, but with a message of curiosity and openness. They understood that this moment could define humanity's future. The Celestial Research Collective had chosen Earth not as a target, but as a subject of study. Their approach was methodical, respectful, and driven by a seemingly genuine desire to understand. As the first official communication was prepared, humanity stood at a crossroads. This was more than a first contact scenario. This was an invitation to expand their understanding of existence, intelligence, and the vast, mysterious universe. Yoongi Kwon looked at the transmission screen, a mix of excitement and nervousness filling his body. Whatever happened next would change everything. The vessel continued to hover, silent yet speaking volumes, waiting for humanity's response. The knowledge transfer began quietly, almost imperceptibly. Dr. Dae-sung Park watched in amazement as complex scientific diagrams appeared simultaneously on research screens across the globe. The Celestial Research Collective didn't just share information, they transformed how humans understood fundamental scientific principles. Medical research centers were the first to experience radical changes. A single transmission revealed regenerative techniques that could repair human cellular structures in ways previously thought impossible. Patients with terminal illnesses suddenly found hope. Genetic disorders that had been considered permanent became treatable. Professor Jae-hyun Wang from the Beijing Advanced Research Institute discovered that the alien transmission contained quantum computing principles that made current technology look like children's toys. Computers could now process complex calculations in milliseconds that would have taken thousands of years with previous technology. Energy production transformed overnight. The zero-point energy system, introduced by the Celestial Research Collective, eliminated fossil fuel dependencies. Cities began restructuring their entire infrastructure. Pollution levels dropped dramatically. Climate change solutions emerged from technologies that seemed like magic just months earlier. Governments struggled to adapt. Economic systems built on traditional resource management began to crumble. New collaborative models replaced competitive structures. Nations that had been enemies now worked together to understand and implement the shared knowledge. Bora Kim, the chief scientific advisor, explained during a global broadcast that humanity was experiencing the most significant technological leap in its entire history. "We are not just receiving technology," she said. "We are being invited to understand the universe differently." Research laboratories worldwide worked in unprecedented collaboration. Language barriers disappeared as translation technologies improved. Scientists from different continents shared real-time data, breaking down every previous limitation of human knowledge exchange. Agricultural techniques revolutionized food production. Crops could now grow in previously impossible conditions. Deserts began to transform. Hunger became a problem that seemed solvable for the first time in human history. The Celestial Research Collective didn't just provide solutions, they taught humans how to think differently. They showed that knowledge wasn't about possession but about understanding and growth. Each transmission carried not just technical information, but philosophical insights that challenged human perspectives. Space exploration suddenly seemed achievable. The complex propulsion technologies shared by the visitors made interstellar travel look like a realistic goal. Young scientists began reimagining humanity's potential beyond Earth. Educational systems underwent complete reconstruction. Traditional learning models became obsolete. Schools started teaching integrated knowledge systems that connected science, philosophy, and technological understanding. Psychological research revealed something unexpected. The knowledge transfer was changing human brain functionality. People began thinking more collaboratively, with increased empathy and broader understanding of complex systems. Environmental restoration became a global priority. Technologies shared by the Celestial Research Collective allowed humans to repair ecological damage that had accumulated over centuries. Forests regrew. Oceans began cleaning themselves. Communication networks transformed. Information became instantaneous and universally accessible. The concept of isolated knowledge disappeared. Every human with an internet connection could access advanced scientific principles. Some people feared these changes. Religious institutions struggled to integrate these new understandings. Philosophical debates emerged about humanity's place in the universe. But the overwhelming response was one of excitement and hope. Dr. Dae-sung Park realized they were witnessing more than a technological revolution. This was a fundamental transformation of human potential. The Celestial Research Collective hadn't come to conquer or control. They had come to help humanity understand its own capabilities. As months passed, the initial shock transformed into a new global culture. Humans began seeing themselves not as isolated beings, but as part of a vast, interconnected universal system of knowledge and potential. The knowledge exchange was teaching humanity something profound. True progress wasn't about competition, but about collective understanding and growth. The world would never be the same again, and everyone knew it. 5 years after the first contact, the world looked completely different. Cities transformed into living, breathing ecosystems of technology and human cooperation. The old systems of government, economy, and social structures had crumbled, replaced by something entirely new. Hyuk Chung, the global governance coordinator, watched as traditional national borders became meaningless. Resources were now shared globally, not controlled by individual countries. A new collaborative system emerged where human potential, not economic power, became the primary measure of success. Nara Kang led the global strategy team that reimagined human organization. Education, healthcare, and technological development became universal rights. People were no longer defined by their nationality, but by their potential to contribute to collective human progress. The economic model changed dramatically. Money lost its previous meaning. Instead, people were valued for their skills, creativity, and ability to solve complex problems. Work became about personal fulfillment and collective advancement, not survival or accumulation of wealth. Cities redesigned themselves. Vertical gardens covered skyscrapers. Energy systems became completely sustainable. Transportation transformed with anti-gravity technologies shared by the Celestial Research Collective. Personal vehicles could now move in three-dimensional spaces, eliminating traffic and environmental pollution. Junho Lee, the chief diplomatic strategist, explained the philosophical shift. "We are no longer competing," he said during a global communication. "We are collaborating. Our individual success is now measured by how we contribute to collective human potential." Human psychology underwent a profound transformation. The constant fear and stress that had characterized previous generations disappeared. People discovered a sense of purpose beyond individual survival. Mental health improved globally as humans began understanding their interconnectedness. Scientific research became a truly global effort. Laboratories around the world worked simultaneously on solving complex problems. Cancer research, space exploration, environmental restoration, all became collaborative projects where knowledge was instantly shared. Agricultural systems completely changed. Food production became efficient and sustainable. Hunger disappeared as technology allowed cultivation in previously impossible environments. Deserts bloomed. Oceans began recovering from centuries of damage. The concept of work transformed. Automation handled most repetitive tasks. Humans focused on creative problem-solving, scientific research, artistic expression, and personal growth. Universal basic resources ensured that everyone's basic needs were met. Space exploration became a global priority. Humans began establishing research stations on Mars and preparing for deeper solar system exploration. The technologies shared by the Celestial Research Collective made what once seemed like science fiction a practical reality. Environmental restoration became the primary global project. Technologies allowed humans to reverse climate change, restore extinct species, and create balanced ecological systems. The planet began healing from centuries of human-induced damage. Communication systems became instantaneous and universal. Language barriers disappeared with advanced translation technologies. A person in Brazil could instantly communicate and collaborate with someone in Japan, sharing knowledge in real time. Medical technologies eliminated most diseases. Human lifespan increased dramatically. Genetic modifications allowed prevention of hereditary conditions. People could now focus on quality of life rather than medical survival. The education system became a continuous, lifelong process. Learning was no longer confined to childhood or formal institutions. People could access advanced knowledge instantly, adapting and growing throughout their lives. Junho Lee often reflected on how quickly everything had changed. The arrival of the Celestial Research Collective hadn't just brought technological advancement. They had shown humans a completely different way of existing. Global conflicts disappeared. The concept of war became obsolete as humans realized their fundamental interconnectedness. Resources were shared, problems were solved collaboratively, and human potential became the primary focus. The transformation wasn't just external. Humans, were changing internally, developing increased empathy, creativity, and understanding. They were becoming something new, a species focused on collective growth and universal exploration. As the sun set on another day of global collaboration, humanity looked to the stars with hope, curiosity, and a sense of unlimited potential. The journey was just beginning. The first interstellar mission launched from a platform in the Pacific Ocean, a testament to human engineering and collaborative potential. Captain Siwoo Park stood on the bridge, watching as the quantum drive powered up. Years of preparation had led to this moment. The spacecraft, named Horizon Hope, represented humanity's first true step into deep space. It wasn't a military vessel or a conquest mission. It was a research ship, built with the collective knowledge gained from the Celestial Research Collective. Ye-Jin Kim, the chief navigation officer, calculated their route with precision. They were heading toward a distant star system identified as potentially harboring life. The mission wasn't about claiming territory, but understanding the universe. Dong-Hae Lee, the lead scientific researcher, monitored complex systems that would have been impossible just a decade earlier. Their ship could fold space, communicate instantaneously across vast distances, and survive environments previously considered fatal to human life. The Celestial Research Collective watched the launch, not with judgment, but with a sense of pride. Humanity had transformed from a species of conflict to one of exploration and understanding. Inside the ship, a diverse crew represented a new vision of human collaboration. Scientists, engineers, and explorers from every continent worked together seamlessly. National identities had become meaningless. They were simply humans exploring the unknown. Communication systems allowed instant connection with Earth. But this wasn't like previous space missions. The crew wasn't isolated. They were part of a global network of researchers sharing discoveries in real time. Their technology could analyze planetary environments instantly. Sensors could detect life signatures, chemical compositions, and potential habitable zones with unprecedented accuracy. They weren't just traveling. They were learning with every moment of the journey. The quantum drive allowed them to traverse distances that would have taken thousands of years with previous technologies. Space itself became malleable, a medium to be understood and navigated. Psychological preparations were as important as technological ones. The crew had been trained not just in technical skills, but in collaborative problem-solving, emotional intelligence, and adaptive thinking. Their first discoveries came quickly. A planet with potential microbial life, complex atmospheric conditions that suggested evolutionary processes. Each finding was shared globally, becoming part of human collective knowledge. The Celestial Research Collective continued to guide humanity, subtly, not as rulers, but as mentors. They showed humans that exploration wasn't about conquest, but about understanding the intricate connections of universal existence. Siwoo reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had transformed from a species focused on individual survival to one dedicated to collective growth and universal exploration. The mission wasn't just about finding new worlds. It was about understanding humanity's place in a vast, complex universe. Communication with Earth remained constant. Schools, research centers, and millions of people followed every moment of the journey. Children now dreamed of scientific exploration, not military conquests or economic competition. The ship's systems could adapt to any environmental challenge. Radiation, extreme temperatures, complex gravitational fields. Nothing was impossible. Human technology had become an extension of natural universal processes. Dong-Hae's research team discovered something extraordinary. Traces of past civilizations in a distant solar system. Not a threat, but a potential connection. Humanity was learning that life wasn't about competition, but about understanding and connection. As they traveled deeper into space, the crew felt something profound. They weren't just explorers. They were representatives of a species that had chosen collaboration over conflict, understanding over domination. The Horizon Hope became more than a spacecraft. It was a symbol of human potential, a living example of what humanity could achieve when it worked together, when it chose curiosity over fear. Ye-Jin calculated their next jump. Another star system awaited. Another opportunity to learn, to grow, to expand human understanding. The universe opened before them, vast and mysterious, and humanity was ready, not as conquerors, but as explorers, as learners. As a species, finally, understanding its true potential, the journey continued.